President Donald J. Trump has decided to break his silence on the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and his comments are interesting. Right, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So, let's talk about Trump and Johnson. They were both serving office at the same time for a while, and the fascinating relationship between Trump and Boris, it was the massive headlines from depends who you listen to. The liberal media were saying, well, Boris and Trump are exactly the same person. Was it because they were both a bit overweight and blonde? Because that would be a little bit bigoted, because policies were very different. we know there were very, very different policies. One was more of a liberal conservative. The other one was Trump. And he was doing actual conservatism as a Republican president. This is interesting because he was on GB News talking to Lawrence Fox on Nigel Farage's show while he's away. And he was asked about Boris Johnson, the former prime minister. And Trump said this.
You know, it's very interesting because Boris was a friend of mine and perhaps still is. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but Boris was a friend. And I think the biggest problem Boris has is he went liberal all of a sudden. He went to the other side. And I think that was just crazy because he's a good man, but something happened to him. He changed.
I mean, with all his flaws, I do really appreciate and respect Trump's radar. He's very good at reading people and analyzing. And essentially considering the relationship they had was remotely mostly. And they did see each other a number of times as a president and prime minister. And of course, they have spoken on the phone. But they're not besties. So you're not like hanging out every single day. But he's kind of like, he knows Boris's character as someone who is basically too busy running the White House. Because he's absolutely spot on. And he's actually also very objective and nice, saying that, well, Boris is a nice man. And I'm just surprised what happened. That the rest of the interview is fascinating.
And he went, for the windmills all over the place, and he went for, he went a little bit wokier than I believe he really is. And I think ultimately that was the thing that really got him out. I don't believe it was the party. I think the party was just an excuse. But he's a good guy, but he changed. He was a conservative guy, and he became much less than conservative. And I think a lot of people didn't like it. They didn't like it.
So that's the thing, as I said earlier. But it's the fact that he's very switched on with what's happening around the world, and he doesn't have to because he's in America, and all the criticism that he gets. Actually, the fact that even he can tell that what happened to Boris had nothing to do with the Partygate, and his criticism was on two issues when it comes to Boris going too liberal, not just in terms of wokey stuff, but also about, how you mentioned, the windmills and everything else, the green crap stuff and the ultra net zero agenda. We know who he's talking about. Certain people around Boris Johnson as prime minister didn't really help the situation by pushing certain agendas and targets and everything else, and all the virtual signaling that happened in number 10 Downing Street. But Trump was absolutely spot on with his analysis, but it was also very polite. It was also very reasonable. He didn't just go with the crazy rhetoric saying, yeah, Boris Johnson is a communist or anything like that. Oh, he's the worst prime minister. He said, he's a good guy. Hopefully he's still my friend. But he was also smart to actually say that even I was surprised because, we all knew he was a bit of a liberal conservative, Boris Johnson. But he did actually acknowledge that towards the end, he went too liberal. And people around him, the people he surrounded himself with, became his own downfall. And I absolutely agree with that analysis. We're going to come back in half an hour. We're going to tell you about the Labour Party activist Gary Neville. He's got a new job working for the Qatari government. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.